Hello and good evening. Welcome back to another reaction analysis show on We Are the Arsenal. I hope everyone is doing very, very well today. I'm still smiling. John's still happy as well about the result yesterday at Liverpool. All things considered, it wasn't as straightforward as some might think. But helping me analyse the game today is John. We're missing Sports 365 Eric. He was unavailable last minute due to some unforeseen circumstances. He sends his apologies. But you're stuck with me and John, unfortunately. Two of the regulars on the channel. How are we doing, mate? You okay?
I'm good. You can't get rid of me under no circumstances. I'm back and you're stuck with me. I hope everyone watching on playback as well. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at John Jordan 2021. I do have a channel coming. I did post the other day saying tonight was meant to be my debut appearance on it with intros, but I'm not the most tech savvy person, so it's getting a bit delayed at the moment, but hopefully by Monday it'll be out. Thanks for having me on.
I've got John's details down in the description below. I don't have a link to his YouTube page just yet, but I do have a link to his Twitter page, and I'm assuming that, John, you'll probably be advertising and publishing everything that you do YouTube-wise over on Twitter. Yeah,
I just want to get it fully set up first, and I'm debating about the name yet, so I haven't published anything yet because, I'm chopping and changing every second.
It's hard. I'm not going to lie. Myself, obviously, I've been doing this a while now, and I've had a couple of different names. It's difficult. You've got to, once you get that name, you got to commit.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not easy at all. A couple of people joining us in the chat. One of which is Judge. Thank you very much for coming along. A regular on the channel actually, and a huge supporter of the channel as well. And then in good old Judge fashion, a video a day keeps the learning herpes at bay. Wouldn't have it any other way, Judge. Any other way at all. So before we jump into today's show, there's a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. First of which was me and John were actually planning on doing a preview video potentially tomorrow for the North London derby. Don't typically tend to do too many previews on the channel anymore. Moving forward, probably going to look to keep it to sort of special occasions. But news is breaking at the moment that Arsenal have asked for a postponement. Premier League are due to review and assess the situation tomorrow. Not too sure when tomorrow we'll get an answer, whether it will go ahead. But what are your thoughts on this? Just very quickly before we jump into the sort of analysis of yesterday's game, what are your sort of thoughts on the news?
On the back of from the Liverpool game, I was thinking to myself, we could do with it being postponed, the game. No one wants the biggest, you don't want that type of game cancelled. My problem with it is, as we said backstage, we have one COVID issue. The rest is injuries and AFCON. This was implemented for COVID reasons.
Yeah.
But it seems like Burnley had another game cancelled today. They've had about 5 cancelled already. Again, most of theirs are down to injuries and a few COVID. So I don't understand why teams get to use it as an advantage.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, actually, because I've been reading the last couple of hours online as to the kind of criteria behind what causes a game to be postponed. And you need to have, I think it's 14 outfield players and maybe even one goalkeeper on top of that as well, at the very least. And according to the 25 registered players that Arsenal have available in the Premier League, only 12 of them are available apparently. And that's the reason Arsenal have asked for the postponement. However, like you said, John, I completely agree. The whole point of this, in the first place, was based around COVID. So it seems as though the lines are being blurred slightly. If it benefits Arsenal, then great, because it gives us maybe a little bit more time to prepare for the second leg of the Liverpool game, given some of the injuries we have. Odegaard, I think, is the only one that does have COVID in the squad. I don't know if he'd be able to make that game. I'm not too sure, given the time periods.
And how long it takes for him to recover. And
because everyone's different. Some people can, like Tomiyasu, for example, because he came straight back in, didn't he, for the City game? But everyone is different. We don't know if it'll be the same with him. But I think both teams have got a free weekend for the 29th and 30th of January. So it looks like it could all kind of nicely fall into place with both teams getting a bit of a rest. So,
well, we should have Wolves to play as well, so hopefully it doesn't start building up.
We've got Chelsea as well. I think we've got at least 2 or 3 games, if you include the Spurs one, that will need rescheduling between sort of now and the end of the season. So, and it won't be the last game that gets postponed.
No,
it definitely won't. So, Ryan, thank you very much for coming along, my friend, and supporting the channel. Really, really do appreciate you. Get some questions ready for us as well as we go through today's show. Judge, genuinely worried about how many injuries we have at the moment. Hadn't realised how many. Yeah, there's quite a few injuries actually. If we hadn't have had a COVID hit season, going into Sunday's game, if it does still go ahead, would have been a real worry, if I'm being honest with you. So hopefully the likes of Tomiyasu and Emil Smith-Rowe will be available. That'd be a huge plus for the game. Yeah, absolutely. It really, really will be. But let's waste no more time at all. Let's jump into the reason that both me, John, and everyone in the chat are here, and any of those watching back. Liverpool versus Arsenal, first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. A lot of people had written Arsenal off, given the fact that, Liverpool had the game postponed. Pretty much their whole first team back, barring Mane and Salah, were back. Arsenal then had problems themselves. Looking at the lineup here, John, I'd ask, are you happy with the lineup? Would you have made any changes? But when you look at that lineup, there's very few changes that you could have possibly have made. Unless you would have brought maybe Ben White into midfield and then Holding in at centre-back, or one of the youngsters played like Patino did against Nottingham Forest. So what did you make of the lineup? Could there have been any other changes? What were your sort of general thoughts?
When I seen the both lineups, I was more worried looking at Liverpool's because of the condition. I thought their team would have been a lot weaker. When I looked at ours, I thought it was the strongest we could go with. I didn't like Eddie in the lineup. I don't think he does much when he plays. Patino, we love him. He's young, but I think it would have been a big decision to drop him into a game with Liverpool's midfield that they were playing. They had experience in their midfield with Milner, Henderson and Fabinho. So
really experienced guys.
Yeah, it was the strongest we could have went with. No complaints, really.
You are right. I don't think Nketiah is going to be pulling up any trees anytime soon in an Arsenal shirt. And if he makes a move to another Premier League team or even abroad to a top German team, which is being linked to at the moment, I don't think he's going to set the world alight. Unfortunately, for him. Before the game, I was looking at it on paper and I was thinking maybe Chambers at right back, who obviously eventually came on. Could you push Lacazette into, the striker position and then maybe bring in, a Tavares, for example, on the left-hand side? He's played there on a couple of occasions as a substitute towards the last sort of back end, sort of 10, 15 minutes of a game. So there weren't really too much that he could have done, if I'm being honest with you. I think we're both in agreement there, aren't we?
Yeah, no, Tavares deserved to be dropped after his performance against Nottingham Forest. Like, he deserved to be hooked off. And again, in this game, I think if you're hooked off, the manager has to make a statement.
Yeah. You do. And to be fair, he came on last, as we can see there on the right-hand side. I've got Tavares and Saka mixed up.
Yeah.
But Saka came off for Tavares, not the other way around. But, he had, he could have made up to 5 substitutions. And the fact that he's picked Tavares towards the end of a game when it was 0-0, it was a huge game. Lots of pressure at this point, 10 men left. So to bring him in at that point, I liked that because it's shown faith in the player, and hopefully the player's taken it well, and he can build on that now, moving into some of the fixtures a little later on down the line. Comment coming here from Ryan. I know you're based over in the US. Sounds like you're coming over for the Leicester game. I really, really, really hope for your sake that it doesn't get postponed. I've seen quite a few stories on Twitter, at least recently, where people have travelled from abroad and then at the very last minute, a game gets postponed. So I've got my fingers crossed for you that doesn't happen. I really, really, really hope it doesn't. And then, you've got to be happy with the result.
Yep.
It just goes to show you, I know it was a real sort of dogged display from Arsenal. It's one of the best defensive displays I've seen for many, many years. But it just goes to show you how much Liverpool do rely on Mane and Salah, who are soon to be out of contract at Liverpool. And negotiations, from what I understand, aren't going as smoothly as some Liverpool fans might want. So an ageing team, and Arsenal's team is going to be coming on in a couple of years. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe Liverpool and Arsenal can swap places in competing for titles. Maybe that's me hoping for too much. Okie dokie. So next up, we've got the match breakdown. We're going to go through some key moments in the game. And for anyone who did watch the game, you'll already be aware of one or two that transpired. But we'll kick off with a nice, easy one, John. We won't go into any kind of incidents that happened in the first sort of 20, 25 minutes. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the way we started the game, because it's really, really important. We obviously had 11 men at that point. You've got to try and shut Anfield up. But what did you make of the way Arsenal played the game? Because Liverpool took control pretty much from the word go, didn't they?
I thought we held it up until the red card. I thought we held it well together because Liverpool flew out of the blocks. It's at Anfield. Anfield, I've always said, apart from at the Emirates, Anfield is one of the most hostile, atmospheres when you go to Anfield. And if you can see that early goal at Anfield, you're looking at a massacre. So I thought we started not really well in terms of going forward, because Liverpool were still getting through us, but we held it together. We held it as a group. We were defending well. They were getting a few corners, a few set pieces. They weren't really threatening us with it. So I thought we done well up until the red card.
Up until the red card, yeah. We were playing really well. Overall, the 90 minutes or the 95 minutes, however you want to look at it, Arsenal played really, really well all round. It's just that red card didn't help the situation. It makes you wonder.
I think in a way, we'll get onto the red card, but I think in a way this might sound stupid, but I think the red card kind of helped us in a way, because then we only had one tactic of sitting back, where if we attacked Liverpool, it might have left us. We don't know. We don't know, but obviously it didn't help us, but I think in a way it kind of made the game plan a bit more easier.
Yeah, it was much more straightforward. Arsenal had one job to do, and it was sit in, soak the pressure up, pick your moments, go for your counter-attacks as and when you can, and then continue to defend as much as possible. Maybe sort of damage limitation, and the boys, when it comes to damage limitation, they did a really, really good job. One player that I did want to kind of speak about, because quite early on in the game, I think it was around about the 11th minute, maybe slightly sooner, there was Ramsdale. The first time, shall we say, he got sort of caught out with the ball at his feet. I think Henderson put a little bit of pressure on Ramsdale. Fortunately, nothing happened of it. But generally speaking, Ramsdale's performance yesterday, what did you make of it?
With the Henderson one, look, it happened. We've seen it happen to Alisson. We've seen it happen to the best of keepers. It was worrying, but near the end of the game, I don't know how long was left, 5-10 minutes. Again, he came out to catch a ball. He missed it, and I think Minamino missed a sitter. So in that way, it was a bit worrying. But you can't fault Ramsdale. You can't fault his passion, his desire, his distribution does be good. He'll let the clock tick down a little bit when he catches the ball, like every player does. So I thought he done well under. And again, he's a young keeper playing in front of an Anfield crowd. It's not easy. No, it's not easy. He's played there once this season, and he didn't have not the best of individual games, as in the team. We lost, 4-0, so it wasn't a good experience for him. Yesterday, however, much, much better performance from Aaron Ramsdale. There was that pass he made in the second half, which he posted on Instagram about. He goes on to mention, had he have kept that in, Arsenal maybe, we don't know if Saka would have scored, but maybe, just maybe. Funnily enough, Ryan's referenced it in the chat here. Yeah. We would have potentially walked away with a 1-0 win. Right, before we get on to our next question, delightful Keith has joined us. He's jumped in as a bit of a super sub this evening for us, so I really do appreciate you coming in. I know you've been away at work all week, haven't you?
I have, and I wasn't expecting to do tonight. I said to the missus, I was like, no, I won't, because I've been away all week. But because she's been looking after the 4 kids, all week. She's knackered, so she's gone to bed. So I thought, do you know what? I will jump in.
Open a beer.
Right. Good to see you, fellas.
Well, thank you very much for making some time after what has been a very, very long week for you. I'm sure you're probably just as tired.
Yeah, but
so
there's stuff to talk about. So
there is stuff to talk about. So you've come just in time. Literally, we've just spoken about how we started the game. Aaron Ramsdale with the ball at his feet, and that's pretty much about it, really. If I'm honest with you. So you've come.
He won't miss a Granit Xhaka moment. I said Keith won't miss a Granit Xhaka debate.
That's the real reason he's here. It's the real reason. So John's right. After red card, it was much better sitting deep. Yeah, it was a completely different game plan, which we'll get onto in just a moment. Actually, Judge, thank you very much, my friend. Get Frank to look after the kids.
Thanks, Aaron, and well earned, Craig.
If you follow Keith on Twitter, you'll understand, and if you don't,
you know,
go and follow him and find out. You won't be disappointed at all. So, another player that I wanted to talk about, and to chuck you into the deep end here, Keith. It's not Xhaka, don't worry. We'll all get a chance to speak about the Granit Xhaka moment. But Cedric came off in, I think it was around about the 11th or 12th minute with a hip injury, I think it is. Chambers came in, not played much football at the moment, probably wasn't even expecting to get any minutes yesterday against Liverpool. And he's put in a really good performance yesterday. What did you make of Chambers with all of that considered?
I thought Callum Chambers was outstanding last night. Absolutely brilliant. To be honest, after Cedric's last performance, I wasn't really... Obviously, you don't want to see a player get injured, but I wasn't that upset that he was going off. Yeah. And I think the last time I can remember seeing Chambers play was when he scored and everyone went nuts and Ramsdale's jumping off the bench. He's one of those players. He wouldn't ever be in my first choice 11. No. But he's a player I've got tons of time for. And whatever he does with his future, whether it lies with us or someone else, he's one of those you just want to see him do well. But I was a little bit nervous because he's got to have had some ring rust. And we knew once Xhaka did what he did that we were going to be under the cosh massively. But I thought Chambers was absolutely outstanding. He was as good as anyone else on the pitch, bearing in mind he hasn't played for months.
No, I can't remember literally can't remember the last time Chambers kicked a ball for Arsenal. I think the last time he actually started for Arsenal was that West Ham performance at right back, where he was exceptional. But that's what we're talking about. It's that long ago in the Premier League. But it begs the question now that if Tomiyasu is ever out again in the future through injury or suspension, he's clearly the better player compared to Cedric. And I don't understand why Cedric's getting the nod ahead of Chambers. I don't know if something's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, Arteta trains with these boys every single day, but
we don't see what he sees, do we? But I think with Chambers, he's like a really good benchmark for the character that's been built within this squad. Like I said, when he scored that goal, everyone went nuts. Everyone was really happy for him, and he slotted in, and he was one of 10 players who were prepared to literally die for the cause last night. Threw everything into it. Left everything on the pitch. And
he was
I got
brilliant.
Nothing to expect from him after last night. I thought he done really, really well in the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I hope, even if Cedric is fit and available for whatever our next game is, whether it's the North London derby or Liverpool next week Thursday, if Tomiyasu isn't available, I hope it's him that gets the nod, because for me, I can't remember, I think it was a couple of games now, Cedric, I've seen him this season, he just looks so uncomfortable, he doesn't look good on the ball, his passing is poor. I don't like to be disrespectful towards players, but for the type of team that we're building and the performances we've had of late, Chambers just seems to be the better fit, in my opinion.
Yeah, Cedric's head seems to have gone a little bit. Maybe it's his confidence, I don't know. But
maybe
it's almost a little bit like after Bellerin got the injury, went from being quality right back to somebody who was clearly not good enough. And, don't want to call players out, but at the end of the day, it's the black and white of it is that Cedric he's probably not good enough, unfortunately.
No, well, there were rumours over the last few weeks that Cedric is one of several sort of fringe players now that could be on his way out of the club come the summer. So, if Chambers is one I haven't really seen too many links about, actually. So it makes more sense that we use him if he's going to stick around. He's a good utility player as well. He can play right back, he can play centre back. There was that season he played at defensive mid for Fulham. So it makes sense to keep him around. We've gone off on a bit of a tangent here around Callum Chambers, a bit of an appreciation discussion, but well deserved. Very, very well deserved. So, coming into our next point, which will probably be the biggest talking point, if not one of the biggest talking points of tonight, probably second to how well Arsenal played, which we'll get into right at the very end of today's breakdown. Coming to you first, John. Granit Xhaka. So you can see on screen there's a nice little picture of Granit Xhaka and his foul, shall we say. It's quite funny, actually, because yesterday when we were speaking amongst ourselves in our WhatsApp group, I turned around and said to you that it looks like Granit Xhaka was watching the ball and not the player. And then at half time, I watched the replays and he clearly looks over his shoulder at least 2 times. He knows exactly where Jota is. And it's just a really, really clumsy tackle, foul, whatever you want to call it, from Granit Xhaka. Not something that you'd expect from a so-called senior player within the ranks of Arsenal. Before I grab your thoughts on Granit Xhaka, I just want to ask you both the same question. He was given a red card for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. Now, some people argue that it wasn't a goal-scoring opportunity because after the ball is controlled, it's out of control, and Aaron Ramsdale would have had a 50-50 chance of getting hold of the ball before Jota did. However, others argue that it was definitely 100% denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. What are your thoughts on that particular argument, John?
Well, for me, it's not even a red card for the denying of a goal scoring opportunity. It's a red card for a dangerous challenge. As for I'd have to look back. I'll get Keith to review that part because I'm trying to think back at the moment when the ball was going through because our defence got split. Yeah. And I know Ramsdale was ready to come out, but for me, I'm not too sure. But for me, it was a red anyways for endangerment. So I'll let Keith fill you in with that.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Keith?
Well, firstly, I was much the same. I thought his eyes are on the ball, but the contact has been made, so it doesn't really matter that his eyes are on the ball because the contact was made. I don't think it was a clear goal scoring opportunity, and we've been victims of this in the past because somebody's clean through, but they're a long way out. Yeah. And also, it's one of those, like when someone's offside, and they're offside, but then you've got to let the play unfold before the lino put his flag up. It kind of could have been the same with this. If Jota's chested it and gone through, we would have seen in the fullness of time. I personally think Ramsdale would have got there first, even if Xhaka took him out. But the fact that Xhaka's taken a look over his shoulder, he will have had communication, especially from Ramsdale, man on right shoulder, whatever. And I can't think for the life of me why he would have gone in with his feet that high. Even in the middle of the park, it's probably going to be a red card because, like John said, it's dangerous. It's dangerous play. Yeah. Your feet are that high on someone, you're going to get done. When it was coming over, I was thinking, head it. Just like get something on it. It could have been the worst diving header ever. It could have come off his shoulder, but it would have given it enough to take it away from Jota. The pitch was wet and Ramsdale was already in an advanced position.
He was coming out, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I agree. It wasn't a clear goal scoring opportunity, but it was dangerous play. So that's probably why the ref had his red card out before either of them had even hit
on it. Absolutely. No, I just wanted to grab your thoughts on it because normally with these live shows, it's funny actually. Ryan mentions that if it was Arsenal, it would have been a yellow card. Don't we know it? I just wanted to grab your thoughts on it because normally we review these games within a few hours of the game finishing, but because of how late the game finished yesterday, we've done it this evening instead. But what that does mean then is that me and the both of you have got the opportunity to read everyone's reports, comments, opinions, blah blah blah, social media, sports outlets, and it was something that I'd seen come up quite a lot. So I just wanted to sort of grab your opinions on whether or not, because if it wasn't Xhaka and it was maybe, I don't know, Gabriel or Ben White or someone, it makes you wonder whether or not the incident would have been seen differently, because obviously he's got a bit of a reputation, isn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask the question, because according to the referee's report, it's been classed as denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, apparently. I don't know how true that is, but as I said, would it have been another player? Would it have been the same outcome? We'll never know. But
I have a question. I have a question on Xhaka. Do you keep blaming Xhaka now that it's happening more common, or do you have to look at the manager? The manager is the one that backed them, begged them to stay after Emery got sacked, and I think he was linked with Hertha Berlin.
Yeah.
Arteta came in. Arteta deserves a lot of praise. I wasn't his biggest fan, but he has shut me right up. I'm falling in love with him. What he's doing with this club.
Yeah.
But you have to question not only him, you have to question the club for begging him to stay, giving him a new contract, and now you're seeing this in big games. One day it will cost us. We've seen it against City when we lost 5-0.
I agree with you. I'm not Xhaka's biggest fan. My opinion of the matter is that Arsenal weren't, with regards to the summer, Arsenal weren't happy with the bid. They believe, we paid 30 odd million for him. He's a much older player with a lot more experience, Premier League experience. I think Arsenal wanted to make a bit more money on him. And they offered him a contract to protect his value, and that's for me. That's the only logical reason. That's the only logical reason.
So they're going to protect 10 million because he's not worth any more. He's getting worse. They've done this with Rob Holt. You're protecting someone's value that's dropping down each week.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's the other problem that we've got is that apparently Arsenal didn't want to sign another central midfield player in the summer until one of the strikers were let go, and they couldn't get rid of one of the strikers. I don't know, obviously, how true that is, but if there is any truth behind it, it only leaves them with, unfortunately, players like Granit Xhaka. But hopefully, just hopefully, if rumours are to be believed, he'll be off in the summer, and we won't have to worry about him anymore. Hopefully. Well, what are your thoughts on John's question, Keith?
The thing is with Xhaka, I mean, there's 4 managers, if you include Freddie, who's picked him consistently. You got Wenger, Emery, Ljungberg, and now Arteta. So they must see something in him in training. I can only think it's the way he is around the other players, because he's not the best central midfielder in the world.
Yeah,
he's slow as hell, which may explain why he made the challenge he did last night, because he must be aware how slow he is. We're all aware how slow he is.
Yeah.
Jota's no slouch, and he would have known he's never going to win that foot race. So it may have entered into his head that I'm going to take one for the team here and prevent a goal, but in doing so, he's done the exact opposite, because he's left the rest of the lads down to 10 men for what?
Again.
70 minutes it was, just over 70 minutes it was, yeah.
Regarding, I thought when we offered him a new contract it was purely to do with economics, keep his value up. But like John says, was it 13 Roma offered for him or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Just shy of 15 it was.
And when they offered the 15 million, when they offered the money, he was on the back of after having a good, what was it?
Euros.
Yeah, so how, if he played so good then, how are you expecting to get more money now?
I think
funny club.
Asking a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, again, I don't know how true it is, but I think Arsenal were looking for somewhere in the region of around like 20-25 million.
Yeah, that's
be lucky
for Shaq. I don't know if that's true.
I know we've got a lot of previous with letting players go for nothing, i.e. letting their contracts run down or selling them cheap. But asking 25 million for Granit Xhaka, they literally taking the piss, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think Roma were actually walked away because they thought we were being exceptionally greedy. The thing that really irks me when I mentioned all the managers who've played him, I'll never hear a bad word said about Arsene Wenger. But rumour is that we were looking at either Granit Xhaka or N'Golo Kante. And
the package for Xhaka was cheaper. Yeah. Didn't it or something, I think.
For the life for me.
Well, we shall move on from Granit Xhaka because he's always part of a heated conversation and he comes up more often than he should do during these shows. And I'm pretty confident that this will not be the last time we talk about him between now and the end of the season, even if he does go in the summer.
You can bet your house on it, Joe.
Absolutely. So Xhaka had an outbreak of learning herpes. Damn, it's contagious. Not too sure. And then strong passion, no excuse for colossal errors. Yeah, it keeps costing us. It does, unfortunately. It's been a few times now. Got sent off against Man City, gave a penalty away against the second fixture in Man City. Sent off yesterday. Those are just three off the top of my head for just this season. So, anyway, enough about Xhaka. After the incident, obviously, Arteta wanted to make a change. Nketiah came off for holding. And we went back to a system that was a back 3/back 5 for most of the game. I don't think Arteta had much of a choice but to pick between either going with that system or playing 4-4-1. Those were probably the two options. How impressed, John, were you with this particular system? Because it's not one that Arteta's used very often. Obviously, we can look back at the game now and say it worked beautifully, but how impressed were you with the particular system?
I was really impressed because let's not forget, it wasn't at half time he done this. He done this in the middle of a game after your leader got sent off. So you're under pressure. You have to make a change. Normally when a team get a red card, you just make a change and you only tweak it a little bit, or sometimes you leave the same formation. You sacrifice a player like we did with Eddie. So to do that in the middle of a game under all the pressure he had again, it's at Anfield, such a big game. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
And is it something that, obviously moving forward, it would be 11 players. You wouldn't necessarily use it every week against every single team. It has its moments, maybe against some of the bigger teams, for example. But would you use it again? Would you be happy if you saw it again against Tottenham on Sunday or Liverpool next week on Thursday?
Yeah, I'd be happy to see it again. And it'd be nice to be able to switch between two different formations if we can get used to both of them. But going off the game today, the game yesterday, it really worked. I was really impressed with how we tactically changed the game around and the formation.
Yeah, it's nice to see that some of these changes that Arteta has made have actually paid off. Keith, I know you're a big fan of the 3 at the back / 5 at the back formation. We've had many conversations about it in the past. How impressed were you, and is it something you want to see Arteta and Arsenal use more often moving forwards?
I'd like to see us play 3 at the back every week. And as we said in the chat yesterday, it's a much maligned defensive formation because people look at it as more defensive because you've essentially got your 5 defenders. But what it does, it gives you that opportunity to be more adaptable throughout the course of the game. We all know there's peaks and troughs. There's going to be times when you're in the ascendancy. There's going to be times when you're under the cosh.
Yeah.
And those are the times. It's asking an awful lot of the 2 wide guys playing wing back. I played wing back myself. This is how old I am. When Terry Venables brought in the Christmas tree formation, Euro 96, and then every non-league manager wanted everyone to play the Christmas tree formation. And because I was a right winger, I was then told, you're going to be a brilliant right wing back.
Yeah.
And it's an awful role for somebody who's as unfit and lazy as I am. But if you've got the fitness in the 2 wide guys, it gives you, it can actually be a much more attacking formation than 4-4-2 or the 4-2-3-1, whichever way you want to call it. And I'm a huge fan. And I think, especially buying somebody like Ben White, who is so good coming out with the ball and would probably prove to be as good a central midfielder as he is a central defender, it suits his play. And when you think we've got I know Nuno's struggled a bit the last couple of games, but when he came in for KT, everyone was loving him. And he's so fast, and Tomiyasu is so good going forwards. So we've got the personnel to fulfil this role. It doesn't appear to be in Arteta's plans. He seems to have his preferred formation with the players he's got at the moment. But yeah, sorry, I ranted on about my Terry Venables stories there.
Always relevant, Keith.
I'm a big fan. Sorry.
Always relevant though, so don't you worry.
Try to keep it relevant, mate.
It's funny as well, right? Because Ben White was given man of the match, and rightly so as well. And where did he play? He played right centre back in the same formation that he played at Brighton. And it makes you wonder whether or not that might have contributed as well and helped the type of performance that we saw. Yeah, from Chambers as well. Maybe that the formation helped Chambers as well pull the performance out of the bag that he pulled. So it's nice to know that, well, we played Man City a few weeks ago in our regular formation and we should have won. We've played a different formation against another top tier side in England and managed to pull a draw, pull something out of the bag. So lots and lots of positives. Last question on the first half before we move into the second. It was all Liverpool, let's be honest, the whole of the first half. Before the red card, even more so after the red card, it was all Liverpool up until half-time. Arsenal had the odd counter, but we limited Liverpool to 0 shots on target in the first half, which was really, really good. Again, I know it's easy looking back at the game now, knowing we got a 0-0 draw, but John, how important was it that we got to half-time at 0-0?
It was crucial we got to half-time at 0-0. I thought if the lads can get in at half-time, Mikel will give them another chat. We'll get on to the second half about how impressed I was with the second half. But I said after the red card, if we're going to lose this 4-5-0 now, because over the years under Emery, the back end of Wenger, we did lose these type of games 4-5-0, even with 11 men. So I was really impressed to get to half-time. Liverpool, they were moving the ball left to right, but they weren't really doing anything with it. We were limited them. We were very compact. They didn't really trouble us, but again, it only takes one moment of magic of them splitting us open and then the game can change completely.
And Keith, would you agree with John, or?
Do you know what? I sat there watching it last night, and so many times, I think in the last game, we conceded the last knock into the first half, and that would have changed the complexion of the game entirely. I remember thinking, actually, we got a free kick on the break towards the end of the first half as well. I was thinking, how amazing would it be if we scored here? But, it was absolutely imperative that we kept it tight and did not let them score right on the verge of half-time, because, like I say, it would have just changed everything. And I don't think we'd have fallen apart like we have done in recent performances if that had have happened. But it would have made it really, really difficult.
And coming into the second half now, obviously really important that we did get to half-time at 0-0. Like you said, it completely changes. Maybe Arteta's team talk at half-time. Given the amount of pressure we were under in that first half, maybe Arteta might have been expecting Arsenal to come in at the break 1-0 down potentially, but wasn't the case. Was you expecting a different reaction at the start of the second half? Because literally, from my point of view at least, it just felt like more of the same in terms of just Liverpool domination, Liverpool pressure. I don't think Arsenal could have done much more, but what were your thoughts on the way we approached the second half? Was it the right thing? Obviously it was the right thing to do, but what were your thoughts?
It's exactly what I expected. I don't think there's anything he could have changed. It's not like he could have brought an extra player on or anything. We knew. John summed it up earlier when Xhaka went off. He was expecting 4 or 5-0. And I was literally sat there, my head in my hands like this when he went off, thinking, here we go again. And it was always going to be just more of the same. I was worried about our legs going, to be honest, last 10 minutes or so. And I don't know where they got 5 minutes for injury time. But when that came up, I was like, oh, great, here we go.
I can't remember there being anyone down injured. I can't really... Well, obviously there were no goals, so there were no celebrations.
It can't be any more than 4 minutes. That was your standard 4 minutes injury time that you normally get. But, they got an extra minute. It was just the longest half ever.
It really did feel like the longest half ever.
Yeah. Players out. with as much encouragement as he possibly could have done. It must just have been, look, lads, just do the same thing again. Just keep it tight and block everything. And, with the odd opportunity to hit him on the break.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Which we had it, yeah.
We had a big chance.
Even looking at the second, yeah.
Up until that point, were you worried, John? Were you worried it was maybe just a matter of time before Liverpool managed to get a goal?
On the balance of the game, I did think it was coming with the red card, and then with us not being able to get out, I just thought, after what happened the week before with Liverpool getting us done over with the COVID, I just thought they're going to nick a goal here, and that'll be it. But fair play to the boys. Like it's easy for Mikel to say. It's easy for Mikel to tell them what to do, but they have to go onto the pitch and be able to do that, knowing they're coming up against a really good Liverpool team at Anfield, man down, tired legs, So it's easy to say to the players, but they have to take that on board and put their body on the line, which they done. They deserve. They were brilliant.
Oh, they were absolutely brilliant. They really, 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 really were. And funnily enough, we could have nicked it. We could have nicked it in the 71st minute. There was the only real big chance of the game. The ball fell to Xhaka just inside the box, loads of space. Unfortunately for us Arsenal fans and Xhaka, which I'm not going to criticise him for, given the occasion. A heavy touch, bit unfortunate. It allowed Alisson to, sort of smother him a little bit and get a hand to the ball. But was there anything he could have done differently, John? Do you reckon he could have done, I don't know, could he have done anything differently to maybe make it 1-0?
I think the problem was we didn't have a lot of the ball. And when you don't have a lot of the ball, you're doing a lot of running. You're putting a lot of effort into it. So Tierney got the ball, whipped it in. You have a split second. You've been running all game. You're under pressure. You're digging in for the lads. One chance come, you have a split second to take a touch. And then, let's not forget, Alisson comes out as well, who's a very good keeper when it comes to one-on-one. So I was dreading it when he missed it. But at the same time, I thought we done well to get into that position with 10 men after defending for 70 minutes straight. So I can't blame him. I can't fault him, but it was a big chance. It was a big chance. But he'll make up for it.
He'll make up for it. Yeah, he's been at the last few weeks. He's been phenomenal. Really, really, really good form. Yourself, Keith?
Do you know, if it was a different game, if that was us 4-0 up against Norwich in the 75th minute, he hits that first time it goes in.
Yeah.
He's relaxed. But the miles that he had in his legs last night, he probably would have covered twice the distance he did in the recent game against Norwich. So you've got tiredness comes into it as well.
Yeah.
And also, like John said, we didn't get many chances. And if you've got, you're going to get 10 chances in a game, you're going to be more relaxed because you know they're going to keep coming. But with that one, it was kind of a one-off. Yeah. And the pressure was on. And he's such an intelligent lad. Sometimes I think he thinks too much instead of being instinctive. If I had one constructive criticism of him, it would be to just be more natural sometimes. But the problem is he's so quick. Sometimes he gets there so far ahead of other players that he has that time to think.
Yeah.
And that was one of those situations last night where in a couple of years' time, he'd just clip that first time.
I'm burying it.
It doesn't matter. You haven't got to pick a spot. It's just got to be within that goal. And there was enough pace on the ball. And if he caught it right, it's either going to whack Alisson in the face or go in.
Yeah. Yeah, but, really unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. So, well, like both of you said about, potentially being tired, not much in the legs, maybe being a little bit cold because of not really having many opportunities. You can see on screen there, Arsenal had 3 shots in the game over the 95 minutes, and only one of those was on target, which, funnily enough, was the Xhaka goal, shot that we were just talking about. He came off injured, unfortunately, or with what looked like a potential knock. So hopefully it's not too serious. I haven't read up on it today, so I don't know if it was just sort of a precautionary thing or maybe he's out for a few weeks, but hopefully he's back for Sunday if the game goes ahead, if not Thursday if Sunday is postponed.
I think also he'd run himself into the ground at that point.
Yeah.
He literally didn't have anything else to give. And it's not like he's gone down like on his own and his hamstrings. I know they were saying about his hamstring, but it wasn't one of those where a player just goes down when they're stood on their own. They're the ones you worry about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think they said on the commentary that he had some sort of stomach issue or something.
Yes,
so,
when he was walking off.
So maybe just had a bit of an upset belly. Let's put it down to that. And it's maybe some stomach cramps or something. Fingers crossed. So, okie dokie. At the end of the game, I think the last sort of 6, 7, 8 minutes, maybe even a bit longer, Minamino missed an open goal, which is why you can see that picture on screen right now. I think we can all agree it's probably our favourite picture from the evening. As you said on your Twitter page, Keith, what was it you said on your Twitter page? What was the quote you said about shithousery?
Oh, epic shithousery. And it was, just looking. You know what, when I watched it last night, the camera moved away from Ben too quickly. And I was sat there talking to my mate Frank, and I was convinced it looked like he was laughing when he'd done it, but I couldn't actually see it on the TV because the camera panned away from him too quick. But when I saw that picture this morning, it's like, do you know what that reminds me of? It's obviously a much less violent version of it.
Don't say Keown. Oh, I know.
Martin Keown. Same sort of stuff. And, you know, anyone that's played competitive sport, this goes on. People will probably complain about him being unsporting there. Everybody does that.
Oh, 100%.
Everybody would do it. Regardless of what sport you're playing. You can be playing tennis, NBA, chess, whatever. That goes on because that gives you an edge.
I think, in modern football, you don't see it as much now because the cameras don't like to focus on it. But, 100% it goes on. You know, if you can get one up on your counterpart on the pitch, you know, put them off or whatever, or unsettle them over the 90 minutes, 100%. It's even funnier as well because Minamino's bent over. He has no idea what's going on.
And it's the faces of the Liverpool fans behind as well. They're all head in hands and laughing at them all. Brilliant.
Oh, I think that probably about summed up Liverpool's night. 17 shots, 1 on target. The one you probably felt should have been on target is the one that we can see on screen there with Ben White clearly laughing at Liverpool.
And I don't know about you lot. I did exactly what Ben's doing there when I went over the bar. I just laughed. Loved it.
How did you feel, Keith, at full time? When that full time whistle went after the boys put in the performance that they did, considering that Granit Xhaka got sent off so early in the game and it was wave after wave after wave of pressure and attacks, how did you feel at full time?
Just exceptionally proud. I'm proud that they put that much effort in. I'm proud that we're now starting to see the fruits of everything Arteta's been trying to put in place. I don't want to sound like an Arteta fanboy, but I have always essentially been Arteta in, if there is such a thing. And you're now starting to see these players, the bond that is forming, how hard they're working for each other. Frank did love that photo. Nice one, Tony. They're working so hard, not just for the club, just for each other. They're mates. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I'm just desensitised to Granit Xhaka now. I weren't even that angry with him getting sent off for that. It was just one of those, it's Granit Xhaka, isn't it? It's almost like this acceptance that he's going to do that from time to time. But essentially just really, really proud of him. And it felt like a victory, especially after, everyone knows how I feel about Liverpool after this point, with the stunt that they pulled last week. And the reason I'm so angry, I've never had a problem with Liverpool. Liverpool are my dad's team, so I've always had like not a soft spot for them, but I've always been all right with them. Yeah. But do what they did. Everyone knows what they did, and we all had a little bit on Twitter last night where there were certain comments. What they did is an absolute piss take.
Yeah,
and
it is.
The fact that we went there, and then we go down to 10 men with an already depleted squad. And you've got people like Sky Sports saying, both teams have gone strong. So, no, we haven't. No. They've gone strong. We've gone with as strong as we could do. They're missing Salah and Mane. But, yeah, I just loved it. Felt like a win to me.
It did. It really, really, really did. John, what about you? Shout off or anything like that?
Well, I was thinking about it, like, because the old man himself, he's a Liverpool fan, so he was mouthing all before game, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and after Xhaka got sent off, he wasn't surprised like me, but he kept giving it large, and then after the game, he was fairly quiet and wanted to go to bed. But But what I'd say after this game is if anyone wants to say what has Mikel changed or what has Mikel done, go back and watch that full 90 minutes. After Xhaka got sent off, look at the tactical changes he made at half time. He got the right words into their head, and it didn't go in one ear and out the other. It stuck in their head, and they fought for each other. So it was magnificent, and it felt like a win. I think before the game, with 11 on 11, I probably would have took a 0-0. So we're going down to 10. Yes. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, 0-0 at Anfield, taking a 0-0 back to the Emirates is so, like absolutely
unheard of.
Huge, absolutely huge. And I do agree with you, John. Encourage people to go back and watch, the first couple of months of what Arteta was doing when he first took over at Arsenal and have a look at that performance last night, because it's just absolutely unbelievable. The other thing I really, really like as well is that we had the game against City where we were robbed, and everyone was expecting Arsenal to go to Forest and bulldoze them over. Wasn't the response anyone was expecting, but the response at Anfield last night after that Forest game, we showed complete unity, character. There's this new mentality amongst the Arsenal team that I haven't seen I can't even remember the last time I've seen this type of mentality amongst the squad.
And not only that, the fans outsung Anfield. The fans this season have been brilliant home and away. You couldn't hear Anfield. You couldn't hear them.
There's been a real change in the stadiums this season. Like the Emirates has been louder than I've probably ever heard it. The away fans last night, fair game, John, to mention that, because those fans, they deserve a huge amount of credit. They literally outsung the Kop.
You don't do that.
We're talking, Anfield. You don't go to Anfield and outsing them lot.
Nope.
No, so, each and every one of you. Well,
absolutely huge.
But this reminds me of when George Graham came in and brought in this mentality, everyone hates you. He brought a lot of the youngsters through as well. And we're all aware that there's going to be bumps in the road, I think is the saying a lot of people have been using this year, because we're a young side.
Yeah.
But what you said just now, Jake, about we were brilliant against Man City, absolutely god-awful against Nottingham Forest, brilliant last night. And it shows the character that's being built. And this is a young side.
Yeah.
For such a young side to have that much character already, got to be excited.
Oh,
like Josh would say, just be excited.
Be excited. Be excited. Especially with some of the people that we're being linked with at the moment, not necessarily in the January transfer window, but over the next few windows. If Arteta gets the striker in that he wants, maybe the final piece of the puzzle, couple more central midfield players as well. This is going to be some tasty Arsenal team over the next couple of years. So, as you said,
if we get through this phase, because obviously this is probably our toughest week so far, not just the teams we're playing, but the teams the players that we're missing. If we get through this phase and we can keep everyone fit, do we really need to be panicking about January signings? Maybe not.
No.
No, we won't, because, if, like you said, if we get through this phase, I know El Neni's not a quality player, but it immediately brings that depth back into the squad. You've got Thomas Partey that will slot straight back into the team. Pepe will add depth out wide. Aubameyang, who's out of favour at the moment, I know, but...
Well, he has a condition going on. Hopefully he's all right. And the other players...
Fingers crossed he's okay,
hopefully.
Hopefully it will add the depth that we need... that would be really, really useful right now for the next couple of games.
And let's not forget as well, before Thomas Partey went off to the AFCON, he played one of his best games against City. So it's encouraging.
Just as he was coming into a bit of so typical for Arsenal. Right, just before we get into our game of the evening that we love to play on the channel, a couple of very quick statistics or pieces of information I want to run past people if they haven't already seen it. But Arsenal are the first side to stop Liverpool from scoring at Anfield in all competitions this season, the very first team. And to note that Arsenal went 71 minutes with 10 men. Aaron Ramsdale is also the first opposition goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet at Anfield since Courtois in April 2021. So some really, really, really good stats there. Unfortunately, on the other hand, since Arteta took over in December 2019, Arsenal have had the most red cards, 13. Now, a joke was there. I could have easily have said that Xhaka's had 12 of those, but it isn't true.
I was going to say 18.
It isn't true. But something to work on. But the earlier stats, I'm sure we'll all agree. That's impressive stuff, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. Okie dokie. So for those of you who are new around here, this next section, I uncomfortably ask John and Keith, or whoever is on the panel, who they think these three players are from yesterday's game. Be really, really good if you guys in the chat can get involved. Let me know who you think number 1, number 2 and number 3 is, using the stats and the heat maps on screen. And then we'll have a quick discussion about that player and how good we thought they played yesterday as well. So get your answers in the chat now. John, coming to you first, my friend. Looking at picture number 1, we have a player here with 50% passing accuracy, winning 5 out of 12 duels, successful dribbles 1 out of 3, 1 big chance, and unfortunately for him, he didn't complete 1 cross yesterday, predominantly playing on the right-hand side. Who is picture number 1?
Well, we had 1 chance out of 3, and it was a big chance, so it has to be Saka.
Keith?
1,000,000%.
Absolutely spot on. For me, well, he was the only sort of outlet yesterday. I know he didn't get a chance to really do much going forward, all things considered. But what did you make, Keith, of his performance yesterday?
I thought he was absolutely brilliant. It was one of those games where sometimes you just got to put a shift in. And I think I put a tweet out yesterday saying, it doesn't matter what team we've got out. We've just got to outwork them and outfight them. And that seemed to be the ethos that he went in with. Yeah, we had a big chance. It didn't pan out for him. But he was our best outlet on the break. And sometimes you've got to suck it up and, dig in and put the work in. And that's exactly what he did. And when you bear in mind the age of this kid, I know he's starting to get a lot of games under his belt now, but he's still a very, very young man. And to go somewhere like that, where you're obviously getting digs off the crowd, we don't hear it on the telly, but it's going on constantly, and the players that they're up against, and the fact that he can still put in a performance like that and has got the maturity to know that he's just got to put a shift in, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really good. John?
Yeah, a lot of forward players like to shy away when they have to do the dirty work. And especially with it being at Anfield, players can be shy, not want to do all the running. All they want is the goals, the assists. But this boy just ran himself into the ground like he does each week. But he'll learn a lot from this game. He'll learn a lot. Yeah,
well, like you said, it's one thing doing it every week, but sometimes when you come up against the bigger teams away from home, it's all that much more difficult. But it didn't seem to faze him yesterday at all. He was happy to do that dirty work, as you both said, rightly so. Okie dokie. Quickly in the chat, picture number 2. Who is it? Passing 42%, 1 key pass, 1 successful duel out of 3, 1 tackle and 3 clearances. Keith, who is picture number 2?
So I'm in 2 minds on this one.
This is why I love this game.
Originally, I thought Gabby. But then I think Gabby's heat map would just be like yellow or red all over the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I am thinking, looking at clearances, probably KT.
John?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Probably got to go with Kieran Tierney. Yeah, I'll go with Kieran Tierney too. I'll be boring and stick with Keith. I'll stick with the same one.
It's difficult. I understand. I understand as well.
I don't remember KT getting forward that much, and nor should he have. But there were times when he was, and I just remember Gabby just being all over the park. So I thought maybe...
I think that's the thing that can kind of like mislead you a little bit, because it was such a defensive display with only 22%. The whole of the Arsenal team were pretty much, at the back. So it could have been a winger, but it wasn't. It was KT. And Ryan also getting the answer right as well. So well done. I came to Keith last time for his thoughts on Saka, so I'm going to come to you first this time, John. What are your thoughts? Because since he's come back into the side, after Tavares had a little run, he's got assists, he's got a goal, and he's starting to be that consistent player again. And arguably one of our best players last season, and we're starting to see that now. That side of Kieran Tierney again, if not an even better version of him. What did you make of him yesterday?
I thought he does what it says on the tin. He's brilliant. He's a leader on the pitch. He's not afraid to go in for a tackle. We've seen the ball he put into Saka, which was unlucky, but he does that week in, week out. Tierney does. All we asked from him was to be consistent with not being injured. And if Mikel can manage him right and maybe take him off some games a bit early if we have a bit of a lead, I think we should be fine going forward. I think him and Martinelli on one side can build a really dangerous partnership.
They really can. They really, really, really can.
They can be frightening.
Absolutely. And to think as well, I know he wasn't available yesterday, but in previous weeks he has been. We've still got, the Smith to come back into the mix as an attacking threat as well on the left or the right or even through the middle. So, when you look at that, it's exciting. It really, really, really is. I love this part from Judge. Get your answers in the chat, Judge. Who do you think number 3 is? As I'm about to ask the panel. Coming to John first. 50% passing accuracy, 3 out of 6 duels won, 3 tackles, 7 clearances, 3 blocks. John, who is picture number 3?
Okay, tackles. Tackles, duels, clearances, blocks. I could look like a prat here, but I'm gonna go Sambi.
Okay. Keith?
I'm going to go with Captain Shithouse himself, Ben White.
I love that. Captain Shithouse. I'm going to have to start referring to him as that now, moving forwards.
It could be massively wrong, and that just popped in my head.
But brilliant. Absolutely
the
brilliant.
Best picture I've seen. And as a photographer, you appreciate stuff like this. And it's like, that moment is captured perfectly. That picture is just...
It really is.
framed perfectly. And it's just an amazing thing. And there's me going on about photography. It's a football show, isn't it? Ben White.
I'm sure they have already, but if they haven't, the boys, if they are on social media as much as we are, someone needs to show him that picture and give him some stick for it because it's absolutely bloody brilliant. Okay, I can reveal that picture number 3 is indeed Ben White, who is head and shoulders above absolutely everyone yesterday on the pitch, especially from a defensive point of view. Those stats there, absolutely ridiculous. Continuing to prove his critics wrong, those that did criticise the move, especially for the fee. Some even mentioned him potentially being a future Arsenal captain, and with performances last night, that old school sort of performance, like you mentioned, Keith, that Martin Keown type performance, then
no nonsense.
He could be in the mix. What did you make of his performance, John?
No nonsense centre back. Like I was one of his critics when he came in, not because of the price. Like I knew what he could do with the ball, but I didn't know if it was going to be implemented right with other with Arteta getting his keeper that he wanted and stuff like that. But on the basis of last night, he was no nonsense. He was deserved man of the match. Again, not many centre backs go to Anfield and can walk out with their head held high. He'll learn a lot from that. He can take a lot away from that. He was phenomenal.
He really was phenomenal. Really, really was. And that partnership he's building up with Gabriel as well. I know it was back 3 yesterday. And I think we've got to give a little bit of credit to Rob Holden, who came in and played a long period of the game. Another one who's had a lot of criticism recently. And especially after the Forest game, there was a lot of horrible things said about his performance. But really, really looking forward to seeing the type of player that this Ben White turns into over the next couple of years. Keith, anything to add on Ben White?
Yeah, when I first heard the rumours about us getting him, he was the one player through the summer that I really wanted us to get because of his versatility. Literally, he can play anywhere from centre-back, right back, central midfield, and he's a proper footballer. Yeah. But one of the things people didn't give him credit for, he's a lot tougher than he looks. I know he's got, the tattoos and the chiselled beard and everything. He looks a bit of a pretty boy. But he's played for Leeds, he's played for Brighton, he's had a season in the Championship. He knows how to look after himself and put himself about, and he proved that last night. And he's got a steel about him, and he got an awful lot of stick, especially after the Brentford game when he wasn't great. And then he had COVID, and then he's come back, but he's growing into it. And last night was absolute proof in the pudding. Now, I wouldn't have named him as a potential captain before last night. You know, we've all got those three names that we think of.
Yeah.
And KT was my choice last season, and I was worried.
Same.
At the start of this season that his slow start might have been because he'd been overlooked again. But he's come back even stronger. But yeah, Ben White, absolutely brilliant last night. And as for your Raphael Varane's and the rest of them banging on about all that stuff, have a nice evening.
Well said indeed, Keith. Really, really like that. Just before we wrap things up, special mention to Judge in the chat. I love this. Absolutely love this. Lacazette. Wait, I might be reading this wrong. Oops, I'm reading it backwards. This is spot on, Judge. Absolutely spot on. I really do appreciate you coming on, Judge. Really, really do appreciate it. But that is going to wrap up that section of the show. Really do appreciate... Oh, hold on. I'm having some technical issues here. There we go. Yeah, really appreciate everyone coming on in the chat. Drop a like if you've enjoyed today's show. Subscribe if you're new around here. A massive thank you to my panel, especially Keith as well, for coming in last minute.
Nothing, mate.
Really, really do appreciate that. Keith, are you doing anything this weekend on your channel?
Do you know what? I was thinking of doing something tomorrow night, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the time to do it. So I think I probably won't do anything this weekend. Probably jump back in next weekend. What with work and home life being crazy and all that, it's just I'm going to have time to do it realistically, not to do it properly anyway. So we'll keep that till next weekend, I think.
No problem at all. Whilst we're on the subject, where can the people find you, my friend?
Ooh, you can find me a lot on Twitter. Just look up the Mad Rambling one. I've said it. I say it every time. I literally live there. So yeah, have a look at me on there. And you can find me on YouTube at Mostly Arsenal as well. You know, as it says, I talk about Arsenal and sometimes other stuff. Just did my first live stream last week, which went pretty well. I got quite deep and emotional about some actually pretty serious social issues.
Yes.
It won't always be like that, but yeah, live streaming is the way to go from now on. So I'm aiming to do that once a week. So yeah,
awesome.
Have a look.
Yeah, please go check Keith's channel out. As he said, he's just started doing the live stuff. He'd really, really appreciate your support, and you're missing out as well because some of the stories that Keith tells, some of those videos, they get me every single time. And I'm not going to give anything away. You're going to have to go and check it out for yourself. So go and have a look at his channel. Check him out on Twitter. Jake. Go and subscribe. John.
Thanks for having us on again as well.
No, absolute pleasure. Always, always welcome on the channel. John, as we mentioned at the start of the show, for anyone that missed that, but they're tuning in now, you're soon to launch a YouTube channel. You've got most things set up. Tell the people about it.
Yeah, well, I was planning to get all the information out today on Twitter, but I've had we all have personal lives, so hopefully the intro video will be out Monday. I'm still debating on names. I have a short list of names done, but I had a few picked out. I went onto YouTube and they were already taken, so you want one that'll stand out. So hopefully the intro video will be out Monday. It'll be all Arsenal, but then there'll be a different side to mental health and very important stuff like that should be spoke about, and hopefully it can I have a few stories of my own past to tell, so hopefully if it encourages one or two people, or it doesn't encourage anyone once it's out there, to give people the option. So and the boys here and Judge and Neil, they'll all be invited on, so it'll be great to talk about.
Well said, and to raise awareness with anything to do with mental health is absolutely huge. So it's a really, really good thing that you've got planned, and you're going to hear all about John's channel during these live shows. So please do keep an eye out so that you can support his channel. But that is about going to wrap things up for this evening. I hope you have enjoyed today's show. Possibly back on Sunday for the North London derby, depending on how the review goes with the Premier League tomorrow. If not, I'll bring you potentially Arsenal news show, or if Arsenal sign someone, maybe a breakdown. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, lads, we are out. Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.